Haiku is a form of poetry that originated hundreds of years ago in Japan. Haiku evolved from the first part of a longer Japanese poetry form, the renga. The opening verse of a renga poem was called a hokku, and eventually the hokku became a poetic form in and of itself. Standalone hokku were coined haiku by poet Masao Kashiki in the early 19th century. Hokku were very short poems measured in sounds called on. In Western poetry, it was thought by some that the best approximation of the Japanese poetic form was to turn this sound count into a syllable count. So, in early Western haiku, poems were most often written as short 3-line poems of 17 syllables. 5 syllables on the first line, 7 syllables on the second, and 5 syllables again in the third and final line. 5 syllables here, and 7 syllables here, then 5 again here. However, the poem In a Station of the Metro by Ezra Pound, known as one of the first haiku in English, does not follow a set syllable count, but instead retains some of the other features of haiku: vivid imagery, existential contemplation, a nod to the natural world and the economy and precision of words. The apparition of these faces in the crowd, petals on a wet black bough. So, if haiku in English can have a set syllable count or not, depending on the poet's preference, what are the other distinguishing features of haiku you might like to consider? Here are 5 considerations when writing haiku. Haiku often capture a striking image, a moment of insight, or a profound realization. Cherry blossoms, lights of years past. Haiku are concerned with the vividness of language. Attention must be paid to the weight of each word to ensure nothing in the poem is superfluous. The old dogwood tree shedding in late autumn sun. Mice are rushing in. Haiku often capture the natural world or indicate the seasons. In traditional Japanese haiku, this seasonal reference is known as a kigo. The jacarandas were blooming in October. Totally bonkers. Traditional haiku were not concerned with constructing a narrative, but capturing a moment in time or a feeling. Traditionalists would insist there should never be an I in your haiku. However, contemporary haiku often nods to a narrative whilst retaining the essence of the form. Think about which approach best suits your subject matter. My wild thing children, bewitched by daylight savings, fang up at the moon. Traditional haiku usually contain 2 distinct sections, ideas or images, and a kireji or cutting word, a pause point at which the poem turns towards its conclusion. In English translations, or haiku written in English, this kireji can be a word, a line break, or even a punctuation mark. Sparrows in eaves, mice in ceiling, celestial music. Even if you've never written a poem before, haiku is a great way to start. The university is running a billboard poetry competition, so try your hand at haiku and you never know, you might get to see it up in lights.